Hi all, here we come to the slippery topic. Until now I have tried to make videos about knowledge that can help people. And here I also have something to share so that people stop masturbating, if of course they think that it harms them. First, a little history. I was taught to masturbate by a friend when I was about 6 years old. I myself began to masturbate at 13, when I developed a strong sexual desire. But due to stuttering, fear of speech, and shyness, at the time I did not see the likelihood that I could find a girlfriend. At first, I just used my developed imagination for my needs. Then I was satisfied with the rare photographs of naked girls from various magazines. The habit demanded more, and when my mother went to the village or to her sister, I watched erotic films on Ren TV on Friday nights. And in the 11th grade, I got the internet, which gave me access to a huge abundance of photos, which showed more than was allowed in magazines and erotic films. I also downloaded porn movies, and it didn't take long before there were porn sites where you could watch videos online. As far as I remember, at first I didn't want to watch hardcore or boy-girl scenes, and only watched lesbian ones. I think that psychologically I didn't want to watch some guy F a girl you like. But with the passage of time, everything changed, and I didn't even notice how and when it happened. You can see how, over time, the habit demanded more and more revealing and hard content. It's worth noting that after several years of almost daily masturbation, I began to feel the beating of my heart. I remember the first time it throbbed hard, after watching another nightly movie on the good old TV channel. Usually, this feeling of the beating heart passed in about a day. In the end, I learned that neurosis was the cause of such a pause. Yet, if a person with neurosis had sex, then he'll feel fine after the orgasm. For example, one married woman had a neurosis, and after masturbation she felt her heart begin to make itself felt. But after sex, she was fine. I had the same experience. If anyone has the same symptoms, then you should read about neurosis and understand what can be the cause of its occurrence in your life in order to get rid of it. Masturbation was a hidden bad habit for me that lasted until the age of 18, when I learned about the causes of stuttering. I say hidden because initially I didn't see anything too wrong in such activity. Also, I read forums regarding this issue, but people there wrote that masturbation is normal and not harmful to health. The same thing was written by some doctors on health websites. At the age of 18, I clearly saw that I no longer needed masturbation. After all, the only reason I started doing this in the first place was stuttering, which by that time was no longer a big problem, for I knew that speech stutters were simply the consequences of my wrong decisions, my wrong thinking, over which I had complete control. At one time I did not masturbate for about 5 days, and I had no desire to return to the old habit, if it wasn't for one problem. When I was riding in the subway during the day, I started having heart trouble. It scared me then. By the evening, when I was already home, everything was normal, even too normal, as I then thought, because I couldn't feel my heart at all. It may seem strange, but then I was so used to its constant, ostentatious beating that the calmness began to cause my concern. It was also foolish to think that it could stop at all, as well as deciding to continue to masturbate so that this does not happen. The logic is, of course, clear. During those 5 days of abstinence, my heart came to a state of rest, and that one incident with the heart made me think that it was abstinence from masturbation that was the cause of that heart problem. Of course, I understood the stupidity of my conclusion. There were other times when I would again stop masturbating for a week or two, and I was fine then. But the strong sex drive, combined with the absence of a girlfriend, would always bring me back to the past. Once I went to the doctor, but they didn't tell me anything new, except for what I already understood. I had a heart arrhythmia. At the same time, the doctor said absolutely nothing about what I need to do or not to do, and just went to talk with another girl. After I discovered Thiaoouba book, I once again wanted to quit masturbating once and for all, but it wasn't easy. One of the reasons lay in my imagination. Misuse of the imagination has many negative consequences. In our case, fantasies, when you see pictures of sex in your head, turn on a person. In the case of men, they get an erection. Why is this bad? You may have heard the term buboes, and the medical term for this condition is epididymal hypertension. If you don't recognize what's happening in time, then you can get the aforementioned symptom as that, let me tell you, feels painful and creates discomfort. Tension in the testicles also has a negative effect on nearby internal organs. You can get rid of this sensation by masturbating to the bitter end, or wait until everything goes away on its own. As time went on, I began to try to return to the good old habit only once a week. Because of my error decisions to allow myself to fantasize, I personally couldn't cut masturbation out of my life completely. There were times when, after the symptoms of buboes, I waited for Monday, the day when I masturbated, in case I was aroused in the past week. I didn't feel like all the negative symptoms were completely gone. Of course, the superior intelligence saw that people would use parts of their bodies not according to its original plan, and probably gave our bodies the opportunity to eliminate the negative consequences of those erroneous decisions. But I still almost always have the idea pop up, what if something goes wrong? Then I often just realize that I made a mistake, that I again begin to generate fantasies in my imagination, which turned into sexual fantasies with all the bull consequences. And for this I seemed to punish myself with new visits to porn sites, in search of girls who did minimum boy-girl scenes, ideally one. There also have been moments lately where I just ended the session with pictures of girls who didn't do hardcore scenes with guys, which is very good. The trend towards more and more hardcore porn was shattered, and I returned to the very beginning of my adventure. As for my interest in girls who have only done one hardcore scene, it's because they seem to me to be the purest of porn actresses, but certainly no cleaner than those who didn't do any boy-girl scenes at all. And I am not even talking about those who have nothing to do with this industry at all. Often I realize that I did not want to do it again. Another positive moment, meaning that the habit has come to an end. It's only important to consolidate the learned lessons, instill in yourself the habit of being focused on the present and stopping all erroneous fantasies that might get born once in a while. Also, after failing to find a girlfriend for the last 5 years, I began to realize that those girls on the screen would most likely say to me to go F myself if I approached them. This also helped to go to thematic sites less often. Then there's the question of spirituality and wisdom. It's clear that most of those actresses don't have a lot of either, since they do what they do. And in general, to masturbate on those who have boyfriends is humiliating to say the least. You need to be able to respect yourself. Something else needs to be noted. Many people who want to stop masturbating want to do it immediately and permanently. And when they return to masturbation, they seem to be very upset about this. Also, in reality, nothing bad happened, even if they did not do it for several weeks or months. They just need to understand the reason for their regression and continue to enjoy life. If they have learned their lesson, then at another similar moment that previously led them to masturbation, they will follow a different path. Moreover, it's possible that masturbation could be beneficial once, say, in a month, for prevention of certain illnesses. I don't know for sure if this is the case or not, but here are my thoughts. As you may know from the book Thiaoouba, The Golden Planet, sex is more than normal if there's love and spiritual affinity between people of opposite sexes. Someone could say that sex is necessary for a human being. It's like food and water. You can live without them for a while, but no more. Of course, lack of sex is not fatal, but it could potentially have negative effects on us. The main thing is not to masturbate too often. After all, sexual attraction in itself is normal, and by eliminating it with masturbation, a person can remove the desire to look for a soulmate. Let's summarize. In recent years, many PMO sessions have had the following chain. At first, I fantasized and did not catch myself in this mistake, meaning I continued to fantasize. Sooner or later, such fantasies would turn into sexual fantasies, which I also did not stop in time. This led to unpleasant, painful sensations in the testicles, followed by a session at porn sites to eliminate those sensations. And then I tried to see my mistakes, where I identified the cause and effect of my recent regression. In my case, the main reason for masturbation was the lack of critical knowledge. You may know from my book Simple Truths of Life that we all do things that we think will benefit us in some way. Material and spiritual knowledge influences that choice. Obviously, I had little spiritual and material knowledge when I was 13 years old, and then, in the course of self-study, I acquired them. As a result, I have, by and large, no desire to masturbate or go to porn sites. So, as with all habits, the cause of negative masturbation lies in our erroneous thoughts and desires that we choose to follow when we should be shifting our attention to something else. And of course, the lack of material and spiritual knowledge always plays the initial role in what choices people will make in a given situation. Thank you for watching, and I wish you a life without bad habits.